is only one perfect solution, but there are clues that will try to trick our team.
Hello there, everyone. My name is Crazy Caleb, and today we're going to be taking a look at the one, the only, based off of that alarm, Simon Swizzles. So this module has been notably known for being kind of a scary one. It's made by Cool Doom. This module has 16 flashing squares on it, as you can see. Some of them will be black in each individual flash, but these flashes actually work in a little bit of an interesting way, I will say. So let's take a look and let's see what we need to do with this module. So what exactly is our goal with this module? Our goal is to figure out A, what button to press, and B, what time to press that specific button at. There's going to be one case. There's going to be a hidden number from 1 to 59 in binary that it is using with the timer for the operators each second. And each of these squares has its own logic gate, which it will be taking, for example, the number that is currently on the timer tick here, and it will be trying to plug it into that binary operator, and it will return one of the individual colors here. So, and there's going to be 16 different possible combinations of binary operators, which in this case, they will all be present as far as I'm aware. They will all be present. There shouldn't be really any duplicates, but I'm actually going to tell you immediately, you don't need to worry about more than half of these. You don't even actually need to worry about more than 3/4 of this thing. There's going to be three specifically I'm going to focus on, but four that I want to mention here: on, off, and not left implication. This is what that means, I believe. So this is going to be the four possibilities of which we focus on here, because this is going to help us determine our binary number. But there are two parts to this step. There are two parts to getting our answer, as I said. The first part, getting what the actual button is very, very simple, which I will get into in a second. And the order of the way that the binary works is going to be red, green, yellow, blue, magenta, and cyan, which I will get into in just a second. Red, green, yellow, blue, magenta, and cyan. Okay, and a white flash, as you'll see potentially on the module, it is always using an internal bit of 1. There is going to be a little bit that I will use from that information, just to keep that in mind, but you're not really going to focus on the white flash necessarily the entire time. It's not really going to help you, and it's not actually what we want to do, so let's keep that in mind. So now, let's get into what we have to do here. So the first thing that we have to do is we need to find the on and off operators. The on and off operators are actually pretty straightforward to find because of the fact that based off of their names, they're either going to be on the entire time for all 60 seconds, or they're going to be off the entire time for all 60 seconds based off of their names. So that's what we're going to be doing, is we're going to be finding the one that is on, flashing some sort of random color. It doesn't have to be any particular one. It just needs to be a color in some way, shape, or form that isn't black. And in this case, off is going to be the exact opposite of it. It's going to be simply black the entire time, and not going to be flashing any colors whatsoever. So now, let's take a look around, and I believe a good starting point would be potentially Bravo 1 here for the off. I generally look for the off, and then I look for the on. And so far, Bravo 1 is looking quite... nope, it's not actually Bravo 1. So now let's take a look maybe at Charlie 2 here. Charlie 2 actually looks quite promising as well. It could be between... No, it's going to be Charlie 2, I believe. Let's make sure that the Delta 3 down here flashes, because I haven't seen that one flash yet. No, it might be actually Delta 3 here. Let's take a look. I believe everything that we've done pretty much confirms that it is Delta 3. I guess we'll make sure that Alpha 2 flashes and that... Okay, yeah. So I believe we have our off indicator right here. Off is generally the easier to find compared to the rest of them. So in this case, I believe we have an answer of Delta 3 for the off here. And so far, it is looking good. So now, we need to find our on, and I've had my eyes on this one for a little bit too at the same time. I believe it is the Bravo 3 here that's been going on for quite some time. So Bravo 3 is currently just going like a madman. So, let's keep looking at this. Yeah, this is definitely looking like it's Bravo 3 in this case, because every single case that we've had, in this case, there was 4 of them right here, in this diagonal here. Each of them have turned off at some point. Let me just make sure it's not between these two. Okay, there's the 3. Yep. So that turns off, that gets rid of you. Yeah, okay, so it is definitely going to be the Bravo 3 for on. So now, what exactly do we do with this information? What we're going to do is we need to find our button to press with this case. So we're going to be, to solve the module, we're going to be pressing the button, off's distance in reading order from button 1, in reading order from the on operator. Now let's break this apart. So first things first is let's get the off's distance in reading order from button 1. So now we're going to count from button 1 a number of spaces in reading order to the offs operator. So the off we said was at delta 3. So let's count from button 1 to delta 3. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So now, with that 11 in mind, what we're essentially going to be doing is we're going to be starting from the on operator, and we're going to be counting that many spaces. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So in this case, we end up at alpha 2. So alpha 2 is going to be our submit button. There we go. So alpha 2 is going to be our submit, alpha 2. But we don't know what time we need to necessarily press this at, because this could be anything. So alpha 2. Now, we have determined this is the easiest part of them all, and this is going to be essentially what we're going to be using here. Now, what we need to do is we need to start taking a look at some of the individual colors. And I want to break this apart of what I actually mean by this, because this is probably the trickiest part to wrap your head around. So what's going to be happening is that we're going to be getting a series of different colors here. So for example, let's just take a random spot. Let's maybe just take the top right. Magenta, let's take a specific color. Yellow flashes at 42, for example. Yellow flashes at 42. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this 42 that we got, and what we're essentially going to do is we're going to break it apart. We're going to break it apart here, which in this case is going to be, we're going to essentially do, it's going to be 2 to the power of 5 for each of these binary characters. It's going to start from the most significant, which is red. Red corresponds to 32. And at this point, I'm kind of expecting you to know binary at this point, because binary is a huge, I guess not encryption, but it's going to be, it's used in a lot of modules at this point, and this should definitely not be the first module that you're learning for sure. So now, we have red being 32. Next up, the one lower than that is going to be 16. Then we're going to have 8. Then we're going to have 4. Then we're going to have 2. Then we're going to have 1. And each of these respective values represents red, green, yellow, blue, magenta, and cyan. So each of these will have a value, and what we're essentially going to try and do is we're going to focus on AND. Now, how exactly do these logical operators work? So in this table below, the module, in the end of the module, the bomb's timer is in the left column. So this is essentially where we're going to be plugging into the equation here, and we're going to be getting some sort of output from this case. And what's going to be happening is that we want to essentially use AND to give us some guaranteed outputs, because of the fact that it's only true if both cases are true. So now, what's going to happen is that if, for example, at a specific position at the timer, in this case a color flashes, what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and figure out if this case, in the binary, the 42, if this color can potentially appear based off of the binary occurrences. Let me explain what I mean. So let's break this apart. So yellow in this case is going to be 42. So we're going to essentially take our handy dandy calculator, which I have already popped up here. What we're going to do is we're going to actually break this apart into binary. So 42 minus 32, which we can do, it's going to be 1. We cannot do 16 because that's lower than 10. That's higher than 10. We can subtract 8 from this, and then we're simply going to subtract 2 from this. 1, 0, 1, 0. And just like that, we have our binary occurrences. So as I mentioned, this is going to be selecting every second one of the 6 least significant bits is picked and run through the square's logic gate. If it returns a 0, the gate stays off, and if it returns a 1, the gate changes to a color corresponding to the position of the bits that were operated on. So, in this case, the position of the bit that was operated on is the 3rd bit. And what we want to do is with AND is we want to essentially find the case where if yellow were to flash on the module and if it were to be true in the in this position in each of the individual numbers, we want it to return as a true case, which in this case, if we take a look here, yellow is the 3rd bit, and it does return as a 1 in the timer here. So this means that things are making sense for me. I hope this makes sense. It's a little bit of a weird concept to learn, but it's essentially what we want to do is we want to try and figure out our time based off of AND. Now, one thing why I mentioned the not limp in this case is going to be because of the fact that there is the possibility of this. Essentially what it does is it's the inverse of AND, where it's where in this case, if we would get we would get the normal binary from AND. So for example, say we would get if it was a 100011, for example. What would happen is instead of appearing on and, everything that doesn't appear on and appears on limp. That's going to be essentially just the opposite of it. However, there are a couple key distinctions of which we can actually figure this out, because as you can tell from this module, it looks like a nightmare to look at here. So there's going to be a couple key ways of which we can actually help ourselves here, based off of some process of deduction here. So there's going to be a flash, and remember, we need to make sure that this is a number from 1 to 59. So if we were to happen to look at the flashes when they flash at 0, 0, anything that is black is a potential option for AND. This means that this would return true, and that we can cross off as quite a few options here. So let's take a look. Let's wait for this to come back around. Now let's take a look. So we have 0, 0. We want it to be black when it's at this position. Oh, okay, so we actually don't have that many here. I believe it's going to be taking a look between, it's going to be Alpha 2, Alpha 3. Then we had Bravo 2, Charlie 2, Delta 1, and Delta 3, which we actually were just looking at Delta 1, so we might just get back to that. I'll look at the other positions first before I get back to Delta 1. I'll look at it in the order that I received them. But essentially what happened was that all of these positions had a black tile at 0, 0, which makes sense because of the fact that we need to make sure that we do not have any cases of zeros. This would not be possible, as the numbers that we've gotten here from 1 to 59 would not make sense. Essentially what I'm trying to say is that no case, because it's trying to essentially perform the logical operators on one of the bits, and it potentially can give you something unique. In this case, none of the bits would return true at all because of the fact that these, in this case, we don't have any of the binary digits present. So in this case, if we take a look here, red would be 0, green would be 0, yellow would be 0, blue would be 0, magenta would be 0, and cyan would be 0. There is no case possible where it would return as a 1 in 0, 0, because 0 is 0. So you're not going to get any additional values here. So this means that this is going to be 0, 0, 0, 0, which is going to be helping us to eliminate quite a few options here. We actually got quite lucky with this, if I do mind saying. There is only 5 cases that we had here, or 6, excuse me. So that's going to be rather quite nice to look at. So that's one of the key distinctions that you can help with, and I highly, highly recommend using that tip because of the fact that looking for all 16 tiles for one specific case, which you might not even know if it's true or not, is rather quite annoying. Now, one of the other key distinctions, and this is going to help you between specifically and not limp. In this case, what's going to happen is that there is going to be a guaranteed white flash for and there is not going to be there's not going to be any white flashes for not limp. That is going to be the key distinction here because of the fact that there is an and, which is a 1, 1. A white flash is always an internal bit of 1, but in this case, it's never going to be a 1, 1. It will always result in a 0, so there's never going to be a white flash for not limp. That's going to be another key distinction, that if you're focusing on some of these guys here, which we have a couple options, keep in mind, that we want to make sure that there is a white flash incorporated in some way, shape, or form. So that's what we're going to take a look at. So now, let's simply start taking a look. And the one last thing that you need to make sure, one last thing that's going to help you, definitely, that I messed up, quite frankly, when I was learning this, is remember that we're looking for a hidden number between 1 to 59. If we were to add up, for example, all 6 individual colors, or all 6 individual binary positions, 32 plus 16 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1, in this case, this would get you above a 63. So in this case, it is impossible, in general, it is impossible to have a case where all 6 colors are present in one of the squares. So immediately, if there happens to be a case where all 6 colors appear, whether that be inverted or not, that will be either a 0 or a 63, which we do not want. We want there is no modulo happening at all. It needs to be between 1 to 59. So if you happen to get 6 colors present in at least in all of the in one of the tiles that you're looking at, that immediately means that that's not going to work. Already that's going to be just crossing that off your list. So that's going to be one of the tricks that I would advise you to look at here. Just a reminder. Okay, so now let's actually start looking at our tiles and let's see what we can do here because I need to explain how this actually works. So let's get right into it. So let's start taking a look and let's just start breaking apart some tiles and I'll explain what I mean later on by what I mean. So let's start looking around. So we have, let's take a look at alpha 2 first, potentially. Let's take a look at alpha 2, and we could potentially be looking around here a little bit more. Let's try and see if we can figure out some values here. So now, one of the things that we want to look at here is if it happens to be a red, for example, that is that appears below the value of 32. We already know that that's wrong, because if we were to do for example, a binary value of 31, and red happened to flash, that simply means that that's not present. That's going to be resulting in a 0 because of the fact that 32 does not appear at all. So is there any cases where red would appear below, for example? Let's keep looking. From what it looks like, no, actually, it's not going to be doing much for me. But that is going to be one of the helpful things that we can take a look at. So now let's just start noting down some values here. So let's take a look. So we have 31. Let's do, so we have blue 4 for the for alpha 2 here. And one thing to bear in mind is that sometimes the values of the blacks can switch. So you might want to take a look at the blacks at 0, 0 in some cases and see perhaps which ones were exactly the same. That could also help you eliminate some options. It's just looking at a lot of the cycles here. This module is designed to take a while, especially because of how tedious it is. But without a question, it is possible to do. It is not impossible. So we have green 30. Green 30 could help us. Green 30. Trying to find some impossible value. Blue 20 and blue 21. 20 and 21. Green 15. Oh, here we go. Here's one of the things that already happened right here. Bingo. So green happened to appear at 15. So green's value, because it is the second most, it is 1 to the right of the most significant digit here, or in this case, the second most significant. If we were to, for example, I need to move this out of the way. So if we were to create a binary from green out of 15, if we take a look here, if I can have, you know what, close in Discord. So now, if we were to take a look here, if we were to combine, if we were to make 15 into a binary string here, it would not fit into 32 or 16. It would be simply 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, because if we happen to have 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1, it will give me 15. That makes sense. Now, for AND to appear, we would simply need to have, in this case, if it was AND, what we would need to do is we would need to have AND, or we would need to have green be a value of 1 in this case. However, if we take a look at the value of the second position from the left, it appears as a 0. So this means that green is not present. Green does not make sense in this case. It does not return as a 1. So in this case, this alpha 2 is not AND. It needs to return as a 1 for that specified color. Otherwise, it does not work. Hope that makes sense. Because in this case, 16 being the second color, remember that we're looking at the mostly significant red, green, yellow, blue, magenta, cyan. In this case, it flashed green. However, it flashed it at 15, which does not return as a true value. It does not return as a 1. So this means that this is not present. So this means this tile is not the AND that we're looking for. So we can immediately cross off alpha 2. Goodbye. So now let's try alpha 3. Let's try alpha 3. Let's see what we get from this one. There was not many in this one either, so let's keep looking. Blue 13. Yellow 11. Ooh. Potentially right here, I believe. No, not quite. Let's keep looking. So blue 4. Blue 4. Green 1. Ooh, here we go. Yep, that's definitely not AND at all. Okay, that's definitely going to help us. So remember what we said about green? Yeah, we just made it infinitely smaller. Green 16, in this case the value of 16, does not fit into 1. It will return as a 0. So that in this case is not this case is not the AND right here. So get rid of alpha 3. Goodbye. So that's brilliant. We already have crossed off two of our options here. So now let's take a look. Take a look at Bravo 2. We have a couple of greens here. We have cyan. Okay. Does it flash white at all? Hold on. Cyan 25. Yellow 24. Green, I think that was a 21. I'm not going to note that one down. Cyan 17. Magenta 14. Yellow 11. That one I remember seeing, so yellow 11. Blue 7. 7. Okay. Okay, blue 7. Let's see what we can do from this here. So now for Bravo 2, let's take a look here. So we have, now immediately one thing that we can do with cyan is if it happens to be an even digit that we receive from cyan, the even digit on the timer, that immediately means that it's wrong because of the fact that we need to have an odd digit from cyan because it's going to be guaranteed to be adding 1. All of the rest of the numbers happen to be even. So that's one thing that we can note down immediately. In this case, everything happens to be odd, so far cyan is good. So next up, yellow being 24. Yellow is going to be representing 8 in this case. So 8 actually does fit into quite a few of these, but let's make sure. So we have no 32, we have a 16, we have an 8, and then 0, 0, 0, 0 for 24. That makes sense. Then next we have 11, so it's going to be 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1. That makes sense. Now let's take a look, maybe there's some more yellow values that we can receive. Magenta being a 3 is a very interesting case. However, it still does work. It still actually does work, I think, for this case. There are a couple reds here. That definitely is important to note down, too. Now, I think we might be looking at a case where all of the colors actually appear. I saw a green, yes. So this is actually a case that's very important that we note down because of the fact that there is a possibility of there being 6 different colors. This is not possible. We've had blue, we've had red, we've had green, magenta, yellow, and cyan. Bravo 2 has every single color pop up. This does not make sense. This means that this is not going to be our answer for and. So that's another way that we can cross this off. Goodbye. So immediately I'm glad I realized that too. Glad we got that one taken care of. So next up, let's take a look at Charlie 2. So Charlie 2 is going to be right here. Oh, I believe I just noticed that green was 15. I'm going to come back to that. I think that might not be it though. I have a hunch that it's not it. It also hasn't flashed white quite yet, so I have my disbeliefs. Nothing so far yet. Wow, okay. So we're looking at Charlie 2 right now. It is currently flashing nothing, so it's green at 52. Blue at 46. Blue at 46. That makes sense. Okay, this is an interesting one. I have not seen white flash at all, though, so that means that this is likely not an and. Yeah, I'm not seeing white flash at all. In fact, I'm not seeing white flash in general. So that's actually a pretty good hunch that I have that this is not and. So this is not what we're looking at. Next up. So let's get rid of Charlie 2. We might come back to that later if we don't get an answer. Let's take a look at Delta 1. This one I've had good instincts on because of the fact that we had a nice yellow at the beginning. So that was really nice. Perhaps that was pure luck. Who knows? So let's take a look. So now we're going to wait for 0, 0 to come back around. Magenta popped up. 0, 0, it's still turning off. So yellow 59. Red 57. That was a white. That was a white. That's what we need. That's good to hear. Another white right there. Perfect. I need some more colors. Red 48. Red 48. That's good. Red 41, red 40. That's going to be a couple good ones. Red 41, red 40. Now, I believe I did remember seeing a magenta. Magenta I'm going to note down, but I don't know exactly what time it appeared. 30. Here's another one right there. Yellow 27. Okay. Let's see what else we get. This is for Delta 1, by the way, in case I didn't state that. 19. 19 for magenta. Cyan for, I missed that value. Cyan for 10, I believe. Cyan for 7, yep. Okay, still flashing off. That's very promising. Cyan for 57, okay. Cyan, like we said before, is the, hold on, I believe it was an 11 for the cyan that I received beforehand. I'm going to double check that. I'm actually just going to get rid of it right now. 45, yeah, it's looking like it's consistent odd. I just saw 43, yep. Yellow 40, let me note that down because that's also appearing up there. 2 values here. That's actually really going to be helpful for us because we might actually be determined. Ooh, that actually might be really, really good for us. Because of the fact that if we take a look at 40, 32 plus 8, yellow is going to be present in there. That actually is a really good case. We actually got 2 colors that flashed for us here. That were both at 40 in this case, and both of them are actually the values present. So if we actually break 40 apart here, so if we do, for example, where's the calculator? So if we do, for example, 40 minus 32 leaves us with 8. So in this case, this is going to be 40 is 101000. In this case, that actually would work for both of these guys here. One appears in the yellow position, and one appears in the red position. That is actually pretty good so far. So now, let's take a look. I haven't really seen any other colors present in this one, and so far it's abiding by the rules of which I've stated beforehand. It appears black on 0, 0. It does flash a white at some point. And it is not flashing 6 colors. That's going to be one of the key distinctions that we had beforehand. And it appears to be following most of the rules. Cyan has been following all the odd digits, so that actually is good. That is going to be your key distinction between the 1 and not being present at all. So let's make sure that it flashed at 11. Cyan did flash at 11, or potentially not. It didn't. Okay, so not this time around. I do believe it was an 11, though, so I have reason to believe that. Perhaps you can get a low value. Magenta being a 3, that's a nice one. Magenta being 3. Okay, so now, let's take a look, and let's actually start breaking this stuff apart. So we want to break these guys into bits of binary. So let's focus on the yellow first. The yellow, we want to make sure that it has an 8 present in each of these individual numbers here. So as we determined before, 101000, for 40, that has the 8 in the 3rd position right there. Perfect. Now for 59, 59 happens to be the highest point of which we can reach here. So 59 is going to be minus the minus 32. It's going to be a 1. Minus 16 is going to be a 1. Excuse me, we had 11. 11 in this case. Minus 8, that fits in, perfect. Then minus, that's going to be 0 for the 4, then 2 for the 1, and then right there. Yep, that's that taken care of. Next up, 27 here. 27 minus 16. I believe it's actually just going to be everything except the 32 that we just received. Yeah. Which, in this case, it does confirm that 8 is appearing 3 or more times. We might want to get an additional digit just to be sure, of course. Preferably one that is lower than 32, because of the fact that that removes the possibility of it being red. We want to get rid of any sort of edge cases. We want to make sure that we have everything for yellow appear in the exact same position, and they all have a 1. This might be the one that we're actually looking at. This is actually looking quite promising. So let's see if we can get one that is lower than 32. For a yellow specifically. There's my white, that's good. Come on, you can do it. Yellow 15. Ooh, that's a good one. That's actually really good. So that means the yellow 15 is going to be 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1. In this case, that's going to be 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1. 8 plus 4, 4 plus 2 plus 1. I'm quite comfortable with that now. That definitely helps me clear up my answers. That is good, looking pretty good. And yellow does match that exact same position. 8 is present in all of the positions that we've gotten so far. That looks good. Okay, next up, let's focus on red. Now, red, immediately, if you happen to see anything that is below 32, that is immediately wrong, as I mentioned beforehand. So, in this case, nothing should be below 32, which it isn't. That's perfect. So now, let's take a look and see what we need to do. Okay, so let's take a look here. So we have 57 minus 32. That looks very promising, so that's actually pretty straightforward. I don't even really need to convert all these guys into binary. I know for a fact that each of these are going to have a 32 present because of the fact that they are above 32. That's pretty straightforward. Okay, cool. So we actually determined that red was good as well. Now for magenta. Magenta is going to be referring to the 2nd bit, and this is going to be the last color that we've seen so far. So that's actually pretty promising. So next up, if we take a look at this one, we're going to take a look at 30 first. Actually, the 3 is going to be really big for us. Let's take a look at the 3. So that's simply just going to be 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1. That's going to only be the 2 and the 1. That's perfect. And if we take a look at 30, 30 is an even number. We're not going to be using 1 in this case. We're going to be simply using all even digits, which means 1 is not going to be present at all. So if we take a look here, 30 minus 16 is going to be the first available value that we can use. So 0, 1, then minus the 8. 2 should be present, minus the 4, minus the 2. There we go. Minus the 4, minus the 2, 0. And if we take a look at 19, just to be sure, 19 is going to be minus the 16, minus 2, minus the 1. Bingo. So 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1. And just like that, everything matches up with that position. So I actually believe that we have and right here. All of the conditions, as I've stated before, apply. And every time that I've looked, it is consistently flashing black on 0, 0. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the same blacks. For example, there was only 5, but it significantly increased the last time I saw it. So I believe what this means is that we have our position here. So all of these values, yellow, red, magenta, and cyan, they all result in a 1 because of the fact that they were present in when the AND operator applied. So this is what we're going to take a look at. Even red right there, it flashed at 32. That is the clearest indicator that I think we have a correct answer here. So now, what's going to happen is that we're going to apply the these colors as a 1 and the rest of them that didn't appear as a 0. So 1, 0, 1 for the yellow, 0 for the blue, magenta, and cyan. And just like that, I believe if we convert this guy back into binary, we're going to be submitting alpha 2 at this value. So let's convert that back into decimal. So now if we take a look at 0, 0, it's not necessarily the exact same blacks that we had from beforehand. It's not necessarily the black squares that we had from beforehand. So that's actually going to be a clear indicator that you might want to take a look at black twice and see which one appeared twice. Or simply just keep re-rolling for a smaller case where you happen to get only 5 blacks or 6 like I did, and that will make your life actually quite simple. So let's take a look. So now I believe I do have my answer here, so let's solve this guy here. So we have a 32, which from the red, we have an 8, we have a 2, and a 1. So now we're going to submit alpha 2 when the last 2 seconds of the timer are 43. So submitting alpha 2 when it rolls back around to 43. I believe this is it, and this is now the moment of truth. Alpha 2 at 43, it's coming up here soon. So now let's take a look and let's see if we can solve this thing. That would be nice. I would very, very, very much like this. 45, 44. And just like that is a solved module. As always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to stay crazy, stay cool, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.